The Seattle Seahawks now sit atop the NFC West with 2 straight losses out of the bye. The Arizona Cardinals now have taken a little dive backwards, Colt. How does Arizona get back on track? Give me a couple key takeaways for this upcoming game.
I'll give you 2 things. Number 1, get James Conner going. They scored 6 points against the Seahawks last time they played him a couple weeks ago, whatever. James Conner had like 7 carries for 8 yards or something like that. Don't mark that down, but it was something atrocious, okay? Trey McBride did have a big day. He didn't have any touches last week, okay? They've got to get back to what they are doing well when you look at the entirety of the season, and that is running the football. Get James Conner going early. And secondly, play defense, right? They've been doing that well, surprisingly. I mean, that's kind of been the biggest story of this division, in my opinion, is how well the Arizona Cardinals defense has been playing, but they got to figure out a way to win this game. Look, they're sitting 6-6. Their schedule is not that bad moving forward. They got the Panthers, they got the Rams and the Niners one more time. Like they've got winnable games, but this game matters. If they lose this game, that means the Seahawks take another game ahead of them in the division as you're getting late. Like they're playing at home. So defense, show up ready to play. Have a plan for Geno Smith. Have a plan for Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's the one that kind of got him last time. And then get the ball to number 6. That's our guy. He is the X factor on this football team. When he gets going, everybody else gets touches. It calms Kyler down. They're a much better football team when they can dominate up front, and James Conner can get going.
They're going to have their work cut out. There's no doubt about that. Leonard Williams had a monster game against the New York Jets this past game. Jay, last time they scored 6 points. Colt just mentioned that. What can they learn from last game to change? And have you ever had a game where you played a team twice in 3 weeks, and how much does that affect this game?
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times. It's kind of weird, but it's actually easier to game plan. You try to build your game plan around what you did against them last time to try to fool them a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're going to attack what they do, and they're going to attack what you do. And may the best man win. That's what it comes down to. But there's always going to be a little bit of trickery, a little bit of trying to confuse them or make some plays and take advantage of what they do. But for the most part, it's mano-a-mano. Last time, I watched this game very closely. If you like good offensive football, do not watch this game. This game was a horrific game of offenses. Kyler he had no chance. They couldn't block anybody. James Conner didn't get going because they couldn't get him past the line of scrimmage without getting bludgeoned by Leonard Williams. I mean, this is a bad football. Arizona had some checkdowns with Trey McBride. They had one drive where they had Trey McBride twice on a nice little sail cut, nice little high cross. And then they did throw a touchdown that was called back because of penalty. But other than that, they did nothing. And Seattle, God, they were terrible. They throw a little jailbreak screen to Smith and Jigba for 50 yards, and they get the touchdown on that one. They get a pick 6 was their other touchdown. Otherwise, it was nothing. Both defenses played really well. I don't know if it was a credit to the defenses or a discredit to the offenses, but both offenses got to figure something out. They got to figure out how to protect free runners all over the joint. They got to quit holding. They got to figure out how to we have 2 great backs in this game. Kenneth Walker and James Conner, unbelievable. Sharp. I mean, we got to get them going. And I can't wait to see how this plays out, because after watching that entire game, each team had the ball about 9 or 10 possessions. I'm like, I don't know where they're going to turn. There's nobody open. They can't protect, and they can't run the ball. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Seattle's defense with Coach McDonald has a slight edge, though, because DK and Geno will provide a spark and a big play possibly. But Kyler Murray can do the same thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Connor and McBride. So I think whoever can just get off the point and make something happen, get a big play, will have a huge advantage, because it's going to be tough sledding for both offenses.
I agree. I mean, it was a brutal game to watch. Justin, what has been the biggest issue or issues over the last 2 game skid for Arizona coming out of the bye? Are they doing anything different now that they were doing before?
So a couple of things I'm going to talk about the offensive line. Kelvin Beachum, who was starting during that win streak, he's gone back to the bench. Jonah Williams is in there, which kind of messes with communication up front. Kelvin Beachum's a leader. They've started rotating the right guard, which has even more, dilemmas amongst the front. Like you're working with a new right tackle already. Now you're rotating right guards. They weren't getting the ball going with James Conner. Finally, they got him signed to his new contract. They're like, all right, now we got to feed him against Minnesota. They drove the ball down the field on the Minnesota Vikings. We were a little nervous with that Brian Flores defense, but it was penalties in the red zone. Every time they would get down there, like they're about to score. Hold, legal linemen downfield, aborted plays. It just they could not finish a drive, and they finally did. And then that's when the defense kind of let up. That's when the defense was playing this bend but don't break against the Minnesota Vikings, and they finally broke towards the end of that game. Justin Jefferson got going. Aaron Jones, who had fumbled twice, had a big drop in the end zone. He finally gets in on a little out of the backfield, little something or other out of the backfield there Gruden was talking about before the show. He scores the game winning. So the Arizona Cardinals, who had relying on that defense, were heating up Sam Darnold. They were getting after Sam Darnold. Kaiser White, some of the defensive linemen. We don't even know some of the defensive linemen names. Buda Baker was getting in there, but they bend and they finally broke. I thought they were going to win this game down in Minnesota. Me and Colt had them winning it. It wasn't meant to be. But there's a few of the things that I'm seeing differently from this Cardinals team that they weren't doing. They're playing a little bit tighter. Now there's a little more pressure. No one was expecting much from them a couple weeks ago. Maybe that pressure is starting to get to them a bit.
Well, you know who hasn't been on a skid? Clean Pocket Channel. That's who hasn't been on a skid. We have been rolling. We are trending upwards. So if you haven't hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you do, because we will keep the great content coming from this channel every single week. All right, Justin, I'm going to come back to you again. Last week, we talked about James Conner and the impact he has had. Just signed a new deal, $19 million over 2 years. How excited are you for him personally?
Super excited for James Conner. We're going to call it the underdog bump here. If we give you a shout out, you're going to get $20 million in next week. So me and Colt, shout out to AQ Shipley. Yeah. He deserves more money. But no, James Conner, he does everything the right way. He's the first one in, last one out. Can't say enough good things about him. Glad they're finally paying him and then actually using him in the following game. It's going to be him versus Kenneth Walker. Jay said it right. Kenneth Walker is maybe the only other running back that runs as hard as James Conner does. So it's going to be a great matchup of the running backs. James Conner, great man, great leader. Happy that he got paid.
Colt, I'm going to come to you. You were teammates with him as well. Also, what are your thoughts on that deal?
Yeah, listen, James Conner is the Arizona Cardinals. He's the heartbeat of that team. He is the leader. He is the hardest worker. He's the first one there. He sets the tone every day. And I mean, there's not a better teammate that I can think of that I played with that just had that mentality and that approach. He loves the game. I mean, he's huge help to Kyler. He's a huge help to that offensive line. He's just a dude. That's who he is. And I'm so happy for him. I think we talked about this earlier. I said the number one thing the Cardinals got to do is get JC going. Like get him. There's a lot of ways to get him. You can throw him a screen, or he can line up at receiver. He can catch a slant. He can do other things for this offense. Find a check down. Okay, like it really felt like I watched this game like Jay did a couple times. It felt like the Seahawks just said, we don't care if anybody else beats it. Throw it to Trey McBride. Let him have 130 yards receiving. That's not going to beat us. What we got to do is stop the run. And so I just think that this matchup is going to come down to, can the Cardinals go back to their little 4-game run that they had before the bye? They were running the football so extremely well. Maybe they need to put Beach back. Maybe they put him back at right tackle. He was playing pretty good football. But whatever they need to do, their schemes, finding ways to get number 6 touches, that is going to be the difference in this football game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Jay, let's flip over to the Seahawks. They're coming off a big comeback win against the New York Jets, a New York Jets team that has been abysmal. We know that. And they came back. They came back and they won. Now they got 3 straight. What is your read on this Seahawks team? Want to win money watching football? With Underdog, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash just by picking higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, like whether or not your team's running back will score a touchdown this weekend. Millions of fans have won billions of dollars on Underdog. Will you be next? Sign up now to get a free pick for your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.
They're tough, and I love this head coach. I really do. I think he does a great job with their defense. He attacks, he plays coverage. You never know what McDonald's going to do on defense, really. They do a great job of confusing people, moving people around. But I was impressed with Geno and how he came back. They gave up some points early in the game. They fell behind. They came back and got a huge win at New York. It's not easy to fly across the country and play the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. It was at the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and then fall behind and then have to come back. So offensively, I still feel like they're below average. So their front is not very good. Their passing game is a little unsettled. They don't really get great route distribution. Geno's really not sure what he's doing. So they got a little ways to go with the passing game. They got to figure out ways to get this running back the ball. This Kenneth Walker's explosive and screens, outside, inside zones. He could do it all. The best plays that they have right now are screens and Jigba, and Jigba's doing a good job. DK makes a couple plays a game. I just feel like DK Metcalf has got to get more involved in some different route concepts. I feel like he's always outside the numbers, standing there looking around for the ball. So get him more involved. I do like the Seahawks. I love what they're doing on defense. They play with great energy on defense. And offensively, I think Geno will get them going, and they've got good personnel, so let's get it done. I think Seattle might win the damn division.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I mean, you just gave me a perfect alley-oop to Justin. I'm going to go to Justin now on Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's had some monster games recently. Has he become the number one threat in Seattle over DK Metcalf?
Ooh, I think it's too early to crown it. It's been, he's leading the team in receptions, yards, touchdowns, but DK Metcalf is still the alpha. I think he's 100% stepped over Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant. He definitely is a 1B. And we see that a lot throughout the league. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles and they have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think this is very similar to that concept. Like, you can't go wrong with either guy. And if you're going to take away one, they're going to hit you with the other. So I still think DK is that alpha. He's had some injuries. He's been a little banged up. He was limping off the field in the Jets game. So maybe he's got to put down the candy. I know he only drinks coffee and eats candy during the off seasons. He's got to start getting the body going because he's breaking down a little bit. But DK's a stud. He is the alpha in that room. He's that red zone target. They're going to throw some deep shots to him. But Jackson Smith and Jigba does everything else. Those little screens, he's getting open. He's making the acrobatic catches. He's on his way. He's not quite there yet, but he is a certified stud. He is a star. Geno Smith, just get the ball out of your hands. The offensive line has been a little bit of a letdown, and they're getting a little bit too much pressure, but you got some stars on the outside. Start getting that ball out to them. And I think you're right, Jay. If they can get Kenneth Walker going, it opens that up even more.
All right, let's go around the horn a little bit. Colt, who do you got? This matchup always seems to be split, right? Arizona always takes one and Seattle always takes one. Do you think that's going to be the case this weekend?
Yeah, I do. I think Arizona, I mean, listen, I think that they're a good football team. They hadn't played great the last couple of weeks. They were close to Minnesota. Too many penalties, but they held a lead most of that game. They're up 19-6 going in the fourth quarter. I think Arizona comes back home. They regroup. They're 6-6. There's still a ton to play for. The division is right there in front of them. But listen, they've got to come out on offense and play the way that they did on that 4-game stretch. And I think they can. And this will be a tough test at home, but I'm taking Arizona.
Jay, who do you got?
I got Seattle. I just don't think Arizona can block them. Leonard Williams is playing at a level that I didn't even know Leonard Williams had. He has intercepted balls. And I mean, I did Leonard Williams coming out. I thought he played high, played with no effort. Something got into Leonard Williams. He's turning into the monster he should have been 5-6 years ago. He's unblockable. Cardinals can't block him. I'm taking Seattle.
I mean, there's a reason he was a top 3 pick, right? Justin, who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to talk about that Leonard Williams interception. When he caught it and started running, you thought it was a skill position player running with the ball. Like, he took off like he was a running back. So maybe they got to get him on a goal line play and get Leonard Williams involved on the offense. With that being said, I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. They looked good. They're moving the ball. Trey McBride, is James Conner getting his contract, Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray. He's going to make Leonard Williams miss. I guarantee it. There's not many D tackles that got Kyler shook. Maybe one, and Aaron Donald was the only one that, and he's long gone. Kyler, you don't got to worry about him. The defense of the Seattle Seahawks, yes, they play hard. The Arizona Cardinals play just as hard. They're flying all around the ball. It's a must win. I know I say must win every single week, so I'm sorry about that, Gruden. I got the Cardinals winning this one at home.
All right, I'm going with the Seahawks, and the reason why I'm going with the Seahawks, it just, for whatever reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, it seems like every single year you get a hot start from the Cardinals. At some point, they're going to go on a little streak, and you're going to feel good about them, and then they come back to reality. And I think we're back in the reality phase, and that is they're just a mediocre football team. Sorry about it.
That's because Call of Duty came out, just so you know.
Now that's when the streak started. When Call of Duty came out, that's when Kyler started winning those games.
He didn't buy it until 2 weeks later, just to throw everybody off.